Wasaga Beach is famous for being the longest freshwater beach in the world, but in recent weeks, it has been talked about for a different reason.
She seen that they were using this as a washroom.
This TikTok account claiming that her friend witnessed a group of beachgoers using their tent on the beach as a toilet.
Let's be brutally honest, India has a poop problem. Not a metaphorical one, not a political one, but an actual, physical, stinking one. In 2025, millions of people in India are still defecating in public. Yes, in a country that sends satellites to space, has billionaires building luxury skyscrapers, and boasts about being the next superpower, millions still squat by roadsides, train tracks, fields, and rivers to do their morning business. Now, before anyone rushes to defend it with "but Modi's Swachh Bharat scheme cleaned everything," let's pause. Because what we're seeing isn't just a sanitation problem. It's a cultural one. It's a behavioral one. And frankly, it's one of the biggest reasons why India's global image keeps taking hits, even outside India's borders. Let's start with a fact that might shock you. According to UNICEF, India once had the largest number of people in the world defecating in the open, over 550 million people. That's more than the entire population of the European Union. While the numbers have technically improved since 2014 thanks to government campaigns, experts say the real situation on the ground hasn't changed nearly as much as the government claims. Because here's the thing, you can build a toilet, but you can't force someone to use it. Let's rewind a bit to 2014, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched his grand Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, or Clean India mission. It was a massive national movement with one goal: to make India open defecation free. Billions of dollars were poured into it. Officially, the government claims to have built more than 100 million toilets. They even announced in 2019 that India was finally open defecation free. Cue the fireworks, slogans, and photo ops of politicians holding brooms. But on the ground, things looked a bit different. Many of these toilets were just holes dug in the ground with no water supply or sewage connection. Some were built in the middle of nowhere, some inside homes but never used, and many became storage rooms, goat sheds, or simply collapsed because they weren't maintained. And why is that? Because you can't solve a deep-rooted behavioral issue with a photo op and a slogan. The Swachh Bharat scheme is like painting over a crack in a wall that's rotting from the inside. It might look good for a year, but the problem keeps growing underneath. Here's the uncomfortable truth. For many Indians, going out in the open is normal. It's not even seen as dirty or shameful. There's a deeply ingrained idea that relieving oneself outside, in the fresh air, away from home, is more pure or healthy. Especially in rural areas, toilets are viewed as filthy things that don't belong near living spaces. So, people continue with what they've always done. Wake up, grab a bottle of water, head to the nearest field or railway track, and do what needs to be done. And this habit doesn't stop when they leave India. You might remember a story that went viral a while ago. A group of Indian immigrants in Canada were caught defecating on a public beach in Ontario, in broad daylight. People were horrified. Locals filmed the incident. It went viral. And suddenly the entire world was talking about how, even abroad, Indians don't use toilets. It was humiliating. Not just for those individuals, but for the entire Indian community that has to constantly fight stereotypes about hygiene and public behavior. It's not an isolated case either. Similar incidents have been reported in the UK, Australia, and even Singapore. And no, it's not about lack of access. These are places with clean, free public toilets. It's about habit. When people grow up thinking that the outdoors is a bathroom, that's what they do, even when they have alternatives. This problem runs deeper than sanitation. It's about mindset. Because the same mindset that says, "I can poop anywhere," is the one that says, "I can throw my trash anywhere." India's littering crisis comes from the exact same attitude. The belief that the ground, the street, or the river is some magical self-cleaning space that will take care of human waste. Spoiler, it doesn't. It just piles up and stinks the whole place. You can see this everywhere. Piles of garbage next to Clean India posters, railway tracks lined with human waste, and rivers so polluted they're basically open sewers. Even their holiest river, the Ganges, is infested with human waste and sewage. According to the National Sample Survey, nearly 40% of rural households that have toilets still don't use them regularly. And in some states, local authorities even pressured people to fake data to show open defecation-free villages. In other words, it's not just a sanitation issue, it's a political showpiece. Modi's government proudly declared the Swachh Bharat mission a success. But on-the-ground surveys by independent organizations like the National Statistical Office and UNICEF tell a different story. Many villages that were declared open defecation-free still had visible signs of open defecation. Even the World Bank, which helped fund the mission, expressed concern that behavioral change wasn't happening as fast as claimed. And that's the key word here: behavior. India's problem isn't that toilets don't exist, it's that people don't use them, because changing infrastructure is easy. Changing culture? That's a whole other story. Some might say, well, poverty is the reason, and sure, that's part of it. Many rural areas still struggle with clean water and sanitation facilities, but even in relatively wealthier households, you'll find people who still prefer to go outside. Studies by the Research Institute for Compassionate Economics found that even among households with functioning toilets, over 40% of people still defecate in the open, especially men. It's become tied to masculinity, tradition, and convenience. In some communities, it's even social. People go in groups, chat, and treat it like a morning walk. Imagine being so used to something that it becomes a bonding ritual. But beyond the humor, there's a serious cost. Open defecation contaminates water sources, spreads diseases like cholera and diarrhea, and kills thousands of children every year. The World Health Organization estimates that over 100,000 Indian children die annually due to diseases linked to poor sanitation. It's not just about embarrassment or bad optics, it's a full-blown public health disaster. Now, here's the irony. India spends billions on space programs, defense, and massive statues. Yet in many villages, people still have to step carefully in the morning to avoid human waste. The government talks about Viksit Bharat, or a developed India, while its people can't do something as basic as use a toilet properly. I guess money really can't buy class. This is why, despite the shiny marketing of Swachh Bharat, the results don't smell too rosy, literally. Many rural toilets are abandoned because of poor construction or lack of maintenance. Some are too small or without water. Others fill up, and because there's no proper waste disposal system, people just go back to the fields. And let's not forget the caste dimension. In India, manual scavenging, the act of cleaning human waste by hand, still exists, despite being illegal. Many lower caste communities are forced to clean these poorly built toilets because they overflow or clog up, which only reinforces centuries-old discrimination. So when people say, why don't they just use toilets? It's not always that simple. The system itself is broken and unequal. There's also a lack of education and awareness. Many campaigns focus on building toilets, not teaching people why hygiene matters. In some cases, officials resorted to public shaming, photographing, or fining people for open defecation, which only created resentment, not real change. Because you can't bully people into behavior change. You need empathy, education, and consistent effort, something India still struggles with. The Swachh Bharat mission had good intentions, no doubt, but it was treated like a political trophy instead of a long-term social reform. Politicians got photo ops, bureaucrats hit their targets, and media headlines declared victory, while millions of Indians continued their morning rituals in the open. It's like congratulating yourself for building a library when no one can read. What's even sadder is that these behaviors are preventable. Countries poorer than India have managed to eliminate open defecation. Bangladesh, for example, has made massive progress by focusing on community-led behavior change, not just construction. Nepal, too, managed to become nearly open defecation-free through local education campaigns. India has the money, the manpower, and the technology, but not the mindset shift needed to fix it. Because at the end of the day, sanitation isn't about toilets. It's about dignity, awareness, and responsibility. It's about understanding that using a toilet isn't just personal hygiene, it's public health. When one person poops outside, hundreds can get sick. That's how diseases spread. That's how rivers die. That's how reputations get ruined, at home and abroad. So while India builds so-called smart cities and launches 5G, maybe it's time to focus on something simpler, making sure every citizen knows how and why to use a toilet. Because if you can't fix what's happening on the ground, no amount of skyscrapers or slogans can make a nation truly modern. India doesn't just need more toilets. It needs more education, accountability, and respect for its environment, and for its own people.